there, it's Marley and Peach and welcome to a new video. So today I'm going to be starting a new reading vlog. It's a bit of a weird theme, but I really like coming up with unique themes for reading vlogs. So this week I'm going to be reading books based on my name. Obviously, my name is Marley and it's a bit of a more unique name. You don't see it a ton. So it took a little bit of research for me to find some books based on my name. So I'll just take you through the books first and then we can hop into the vlog. These are all books I would not normally have picked for myself. So doing these themed reading vlogs with these kind of weird themes, you know, helps me get out of my comfort zone a little bit and read some things I wouldn't normally pick up. I wish I was in a position where you could see Peach more, but she is there. So the first book is going to be Ache by Marley Valentine. So obviously I picked this author because her first name is Marley and she is a romance author. This seemed to be her most popular book. I think that's why I picked it. It is a male romance. I think she might be an indie published author. She's giving me like the Kindle Unlimited author vibes from like this cover, obviously. So yeah, definitely a book I would not typically be drawn towards, but we're gonna give Marley a chance and see how this goes. In a similar vein, we have The QB Bad Boy and Me, and this is by Tay Marley. So another case where my name is their last name, and this is a bit of a similar pick as it is a romance. This time it is a sports romance and it's actually from Wattpad. So again, definitely not something I would have stumbled upon on my own if I wasn't doing this specific video. Yeah, and I think she seems to be an indie published author as well, a Wattpad author. Not really an area of books that I'm too familiar with. So this should be interesting. And then the third book that I'm going to be reading based on my name is Miss Marley. And this is by Vanessa Lafaye. Obviously, in this case, my name Marley is in the title of the book. And this is actually a prequel to A Christmas Carol by Charles Dickens. Because in that story, there's a character named Jacob Marley. And this is going to be about him and his sister before the events of A Christmas Carol. Growing up, reading A Christmas Carol or watching the adaptations, I always knew the character Jacob Marley. And doing this research, I found that there's actually a lot of books about Jacob Marley. I guess little like, not fan fiction, but people kind of coming up with their own take on his character and what he was doing before he died, because he is like a ghost in A Christmas Carol. So that was kind of an interesting thing to discover, and I just went with this one in particular because it was available at my library, so I didn't have to invest. But yeah, that was a whole section of novels about Jacob Marley, which is interesting. So yeah, that's what I managed to come up with. As I said, my name is a bit unique, so it's kind of hard to find books that incorporated my name. Another option I could have went with was reading a book about Bob Marley, like a biographical book about his life. Obviously, he's one of the more popular figures with the name Marley as the last name, but I didn't really feel that interested in that. I thought I would have more fun with these ones. And obviously there is Marley and Me about the dog, but I have already read that. These are the books I'm going to check out. Let's see if I like them. I've arrived at my room on this work trip. I have a little turtle, a glass of Prosecco to welcome us. Fun. Hey vlog, I don't think I introduced, but I am currently on a trip for work. First one I've ever done actually, so that's exciting. I'm here in my hotel room. I have a little fire behind me. But I have been reading Ache by Marley Valentine. This is the male romance, friends to lovers. I'm about halfway through. I got to read a bunch on the plane ride here. I'm in Montreal. Sorry, I didn't say that. I'm in Montreal, Quebec. Oh, my fire's gone. Oh, is it coming back? Okay. And honestly, I was ready to rant. I really was, but I do think a shift is happening in the plot right now at this halfway point that is making me hopeful for the rest of the book, because I was not liking what was happening in the first half of the book, or it wasn't to my taste, basically. So our two main characters are Jordan and Gael. They have been friends since they were kids, and they especially got close because Jordan's parents kicked him out for being gay when he was younger, and then Gael's family kind of took him in and took him under their wing kind of thing. So they've been quite close, and we hear from Jordan's point of view first, and he is just totally smitten. Like, he has been in love with Gael all this time, and he feels like it is, unrequited. Gael doesn't feel the same. Gael is actually engaged to a woman named Elena. So Jordan is just, in his feels about that. He just kind of hooks up with random guys and doesn't really have his own relationships because he just loves Gael. So okay, decent setup, I guess. But then we get Gael's point of view. And like, as I said, he's engaged to Elena, but in his head, he is like fully aware that he also loves Jordan. Like, he's already aware that he does love Jordan back, and just they're not together. So they're both just kind of pining for each other, smitten with each other, but like they're not together. And it didn't really make sense to me, because I'm like, if you're both fully aware of being in love with each other, like, why are you not together? Like, it kind of explains why Gael is with Elena, why they originally decided to get married, but it's not really relevant anymore. So it's just kind of like, okay, what's been keeping them apart? And the explanation we get is not really a good one, in my opinion. It's basically just Jordan doesn't trust Gael's feelings for him are real, because he has never been attracted to any other man besides him, so he thinks it's just like a one-off, like he doesn't think it's serious. So even though they have kissed in the past and kind of revealed their feelings in the past, like, nothing's ever really happened until now, when Jordan, who for some reason is super rich, he's just throwing his money around, but he decides to take Gael and some other gentleman on a bachelor party to Vegas. And while they're there, they hook up. Like, for some reason, they finally decide to admit their feelings when it's freaking Gael's bachelor party, when he's deciding to get married, which I'm just like, the timing doesn't make sense to me. Like, why are you waiting till he's literally engaged to be married to do this? Like, why didn't you admit this before? Like, this poor woman now is being cheated on, and like, her life's gonna be ruined. Like, just it didn't really make sense to me. I didn't love the whole like cheating aspect of it as well. Then it just got really, really smutty. And this was at 25%. So I much prefer, if there's gonna be smut scenes, like, for it to be later on in the book, for there to be more of a build up to it. And the relationship just didn't feel like it had any build up either, because we're coming in at friends to lovers. So we're not seeing their initial connection or that relationship growing. And we're also coming in where both of them already know that they love each other. So I'm like, this is not interesting to me. I'm not seeing any development of this relationship. The writing is not particularly good or anything. So then we're just getting a ton of smut, and wasn't particularly for me. I was just kind of feeling like, hey, this is boring. They got together so quick. They are fully in love with each other. Like, what's the rest of the book gonna be? And so, as I was alluding to, something did just happen at the 40-something% mark, which I think is going to change the trajectory of the book, which maybe might make it a little more interesting, might make there be some more like angst and pining. Still probably not going to love the cheating elements and this poor woman Elena, what she's gonna have to find out, but hopefully I will actually start liking the relationship between the two guys a bit more once there's some angst and some different things going on, which I obviously will not spoil. So that is my thoughts right now. I'm honestly just glad I have this trip to kind of like force myself to read on the flight, because I don't know if I would have like gotten this far into it if not for that. But yeah, so right now it's not looking great, but the fact that we had this little twist, there's some hope. So I will update again when I have finished Ache. Hey vlog, I am back from Montreal, back to the normal routine. I did finish Ache by Miss Marley Valentine, and I'm sorry girl, I'm sorry my fellow Marley, not a fan of this book. Not a fan of this book. I rated it 2 stars. I ended up rating it 2 stars on Goodreads. The second half of the book, I know I ended my last update being a little bit hopeful because of the direction the plot had gone to, but it still was a flop. Like, was still annoyed with how the characters handled the situation. Still felt like it potentially could have led to some good angst, some good moments, but then things just got resolved so quickly. It was like things just happened, but they had no like real impact. I think a lot of that has to do with the characters not being characterized at all. Like, they were literally just names on a page. Like, I do not know any distinguishing features about Jordan or Gael or even Elena, who had some random points of view chapters. The only thing is, I know Jordan's super rich. Gael loves his family, but like those are things that were just like told to us and not really shown. There was no differentiation between like their characters when you would read from their points of view. So super boring. As I already said, I mean, the characters were in love with each other, knew that they loved each other starting from the jump. So no sort of development or anything like that. There was only like a few funny moments, I would say maybe from like the brother-in-laws in Gael's family. Why did they have the most characterization? I don't know. So yeah, just not a good book. But I have started Miss Marley now. That's the next book I'm gonna go into. Not far at all, just basically read 1 chapter, but I think this one will be a lot more interesting to read. So I'll update you guys once I've gotten halfway through that one. Alright, it's later in the day and I am now halfway through Miss Marley. This is going to be a pretty quick read. It is about the Marley family, the 2 siblings, Jacob Marley and then his younger sister Clara Marley. And basically they did come from a pretty well-off family, but then I think their parents passed away. They lost all their money and basically they just became homeless orphans. And so we're seeing how they dealt with that. It's from Clara's point of view. Her older brother Jacob and her end up basically starting their own business of like lending money out. They end up developing their own wealth and status for themselves, but throughout this process, Jacob is definitely getting quite kind of mean. Like, he's just so focused on the business and money, and that's all he really cares about is improving his financial status, improving his business. And he has started working with Ebenezer Scrooge, who of course is the main character in A Christmas Carol, and we're seeing that they have created this friendship and partnership. Meanwhile, Clara is not really happy to, you know, see how her brother is growing into this person who is obviously not really a very nice person. He is not very generous. He really just cares about wealth. So that's kind of the premise of this story. It does have that same kind of Christmassy vibe as A Christmas Carol. I feel like the setting, like we keep seeing them during Christmas over the years. So kind of good that I'm reading it now in this transitional time between fall and winter. But yeah, not too much has happened besides that. But I'll admit I am curious to see where things are gonna go. Obviously, I know Jacob does eventually end up dead and haunts Ebenezer Scrooge. So I'm definitely curious to find out like what happens with Clara. Hopefully she continues to live and has a nice life, but I definitely feel for her just knowing the trajectory that it's gonna end with her brother. But I think it's just gonna kind of be a continuation of what A Christmas Carol is kind of saying, to appreciate your friends and family, appreciate your life, and there's more to life than just money. And you know, as someone who does prioritize money a lot, and I've had some different situations of definitely being selfish with my money, I can definitely appreciate this book and what it's trying to say. I feel like I have over the years grown to have more of a balanced and healthy relationship with money. But yeah, so I would say overall I'm enjoying this book definitely more than Ache. I like the writing and like what it's trying to say more, but I still feel like it's just going to be a kind of like basic read, not like a favorite of all time, but I think it'll be like an enjoyable enough read. And I also saw at the beginning of the book that the author has actually passed away since writing this novel, which is very sad. Just something to note. But anyway, I will check back in when I finish the book, of course. reading update. I finished Miss Marley last night. As I said, it was a pretty quick read. It was, however, very sad, very heartbreaking. The actual story and then also the real life story. I think I mentioned the author, Vanessa, actually passed away apparently while she was in the middle of writing this book. And so her friend actually finished writing the end of the book, and she had a little note at the end that, you know, she did her best to continue the story, even though she didn't know exactly what Vanessa had intended for it. But they both had bonded over loving Charles Dickens and that kind of thing. So I'm gonna rate it a 3-star. I do think it was a little bit basic, a little short. I never really end up rating short books that highly. Still, overall enjoyed it. Sorry I got interrupted, but yeah, I feel like reading these little prequel, almost fan fiction stories about a classic like A Christmas Carol was kind of interesting. I feel like because I saw there were so many other stories about Jacob Marley, I actually think it'd be interesting to see like what do other people imagine for him and for his origin story. And it also kind of makes me want to re-watch A Christmas Carol, I guess, or I guess I never probably read the actual original Charles Dickens story, so it does intrigue me a little bit. But overall, I probably wouldn't like widely recommend this, except for if you're like a really big fan of A Christmas Carol or Charles Dickens like the authors were. Otherwise, I've just been working on this broccoli salad that I'm bringing to a party today, a housewarming party. I'm not much of a cook or a baker or anything, but I'm trying to be better about that, and I always loved this broccoli salad that I would have at someone's house, and so I've recreated it, and I just mixed together the dressing today, and it actually tastes good. I tried a little thing of broccoli and it actually tasted good, so we're gonna be bringing that over today, going to this party. So I don't know how much reading I'm gonna get done today, but we only have one book left for the vlog, so I'm hopeful that I can finish it by Tuesday to upload this video. It is Saturday today, so I think it's looking good. So I'm checking in a little bit early for this book. I'm only at 25%, but I just wanted to chat about it a little bit since I got this set up already for another video I just filmed. So yeah, I've been reading The QB Bad Boy and Me by Tay Marley. Honestly, when I first started this book, I was like, I hate this. I hate this book. And I seriously was like, I might have to DNF this. I don't ever really DNF, but I was like, I might have to, honestly. This is really rough. The writing is really amateur, which kind of makes sense because it's from Wattpad. But now, I gotta say, I actually am loving it. I actually got quite into it. I'm pretty entertained by it. It's still not, obviously, like the best quality book, the best book, but it's getting better, and I think I definitely can finish it and keep reading. But yeah, I didn't realize it was a young adult book. I'm actually a little bit unsure still because our main characters are in high school. I think I originally thought maybe they would be like in college, and with it being from Wattpad, like I thought it was gonna, you know, have some like smutty scenes and stuff like that. So I'm a little bit unsure if we're gonna go in that direction or not. I'm not super familiar with Wattpad, but yeah, our characters are teenagers in high school. Our main character is named Dallas, and say it with me now, she is not like other girls. She is a cheerleader on the squad, but the only reason she's on the team is because she really enjoys dance, and there's no like dance club or dance options in her town, so the closest thing is joining the cheer team. But she's not really friends with any of the other cheerleaders. Like, she's not really your typical cheerleader. So anyways, the beginning of the book kind of starts out that her car has been kind of damaged in the school parking lot. She's really pissed about it and goes home, and then the quarterback of the football team follows her home and is like, hey, I'm actually the one that damaged your car. I didn't want to approach you like at the school, but like I followed you home, like here's some money for it, you know. So we're starting out kind of on the wrong foot because like he's damaged her car. She has this kind of preconceived notion of him because he's the quarterback of the football team. He thinks he's all that, and he didn't want to be seen with her at school, blah blah blah. So there's this kind of immediate tension there, but we kind of see, oh, he's a good guy, he is paying her. And then he ends up staying for dinner because the girl's brother invites him. Our main girl is an orphan, so she's been raised by her older brother. So much trauma, so much angst, of course, but he stays for dinner, and then they end up kind of like bonding. He is quite flirty, definitely living up to his name of the bad boy, but she gets to see like this kind of nicer side to him and they bond and whatever. But then of course, back at school, he kind of is rude to her in front of his friends and it's this whole situation. Quickly soon after, he kind of redeems himself from that. So we're building up this relationship. Things that were like kind of cringe to me is like, as I said, the writing, I feel like it's overly being descriptive of certain things that don't feel natural. In the one page where Drayton, sorry, the main guy's name is Drayton Leahy, he was like smoking. Within a few paragraphs, it was described as a death stick and a cancer cane, is how she described the cigarette. Now, I don't like smoking, but still I found it a little cringe to be like calling it that back to back. Then there was this part that was so dumb. I'm sorry I'm getting so much detail into this book, but I feel like I have to talk about it. Like, I keep just thinking things are so stupid. So our main character, Dallas, goes to this underage party with her friend. It is like an underage club night. So they drink before going, okay? And they describe that they eat a big dinner, like lots of carbs to be safe, you know, and to not get too drunk. And they describe having a couple beers is their pre-drink. Then it is described that this party is like an hour and a half away. So they are getting a ride an hour and a half to this party. They spend however long there dancing. And we're supposed to believe that these girls are so freaking drunk that they cannot like make proper decisions. And like, I'm sorry, you would not be super drunk in that situation. You've had a couple beers hours ago and you've been dancing. But for some reason, they're like plastered. So her one friend goes off with a boy, you know, to hook up with. So our main girl's alone. We see that Drayton is at the party, but she goes off on her own, you know, at night. And all of a sudden she gets grabbed. I think she's getting attacked. She's like pressed up against the wall. And then it's Drayton. And he was just trying to teach her a lesson to not walk alone at night. And that just really didn't sit right with me because I don't think women need a man to like teach them that they should be safe and not walk alone at night. I think we are pretty aware of that. And I just hate that he like kind of low-key traumatized her. Like, he literally attacked her and dragged her into an alley as a way to like show her why she should be safe. It didn't sit right with me. Like, we don't need you to show us that and like scar us. Thanks very much. And then he like insists on driving her home. And then instead of going home, he takes her to his place because he's like, you're way too drunk to be home alone. Like, you need to come stay with me. Again, how is she so drunk? They did not describe them drinking anymore after that pre-drink hours ago. She's not acting drunk at all. Like, they mentioned her swaying a little, but she's not acting drunk. And I'm just like, if you want to go with this plot device to get them together in the same bed, which I do love that trope when it's done well, like, make it believable that she's drunk. Like, show that she was drinking more, like have her be acting kind of drunk. Like, she was just acting totally normal. So he basically kidnaps her and brings her to his house and is like, you need to sleep in my bed, like, so I can watch you and whatever. They have some cute moments in there, but I'm just like, this is so silly. Some of it is just so silly to me. And that's why I'm also questioning, like, is this meant for young adults? Is that why the author doesn't want to portray too much drinking? Like, I'm really confused of who the audience is. And I guess I'll know by the end by how like smutty it ends up getting. Maybe it won't be smutty at all. Like, I thought it was gonna go that direction, but maybe it's not. Like, maybe it really is just for young adults. I don't know. But to be honest, as I said, I'm kind of having fun with it. The silly things, I'm shaking my head at it. And I actually am kind of liking the development between the two characters. Some other silly kind of stuff has happened. Oh yeah, our main character also is like, I do no strings attached, which again, I don't fully believe for like a 17-year-old, like to be at that stage already where you're like, I'm not gonna have relationships, I'm only into hookups. Again, doesn't quite sit well with me as an adult reading that about a teenager. But anyways, so I have some issues with this book, but overall it actually is reading pretty quick. I started it yesterday and read a quarter of the book. So we'll see how much time I have to read today. So who knows, maybe this will end up being my favorite book of the vlog, which I did not expect. Oh my god. Wow, represent.
Running station.
Hey vlog, it's early in the morning here, but I wanted to update before I headed off to work at the office today. I'm at 65% of the way through the QB Bad Boy and Me. I very well may finish it today on my commute. Due to delays on the subway yesterday, I actually read a little bit more than planned, so it's coming along. Although if anyone were to ask me what I was reading and I had to say the QB Bad Boy and Me, like, I'd be so embarrassed. I I know I checked in early for this vlog, but yeah, as I've continued to read, I'm actually really adoring the romance in this book. I think I showed the clips of the author referencing Lauv, which is like my favorite artist of all time, and she referenced Damon and Elena from the Vampire Diaries, which is my favorite couple of all time. So I can tell that this author really has taste, or her interests really match mine, and so I think that's why I actually am connecting with these characters and the romance between them. She's really good at building up the tension, and it's been my favorite formula of like an enemies to friends to lovers, because I don't know if I said before, but when I opened this EPUB, it was like over 400 pages, which is a lot longer than I was expecting. The reason for that is like we're really doing a slow burn thing here. We're really building up this friendship between them first before they get together. I've also discovered this is definitely young adult. There's no smut scenes despite so much sexual tension. That's why I really wasn't sure like where this book was going. Heavy like sexual tension and everything. The characters are very flirty and make little innuendos to each other, but we don't seem to be getting into smut because I think this is young adult, just so you're aware. But I feel like I like that. I'm not someone who like needs smut in their romances or in their books, so I'm still enjoying it. However, I do feel like now the fact that I still have 35% left, like I still have quite a bit left, I'm starting to feel like maybe the second half is going to drag a little bit, because I have been enjoying this and just having a silly goofy time with it. But if it starts to really like drag out longer, that's going to be a bit annoying. Also, I should know in defense of Drayton that we just got some reveals about his past, and now we know that he actually has trauma regarding women being like kidnapped on the street. So that is why he made such a big deal of Dallas walking home alone in the dark that night, and really made that point of trying to like show her why she shouldn't do it. I still don't love the way he did that, but now we have learned like some exposition on his history and why seeing women walk home alone is so upsetting for him. So just in defense of Drayton, we kind of understand that. Hey vlog, so I finished the QB Bad Boy and Me last night. I ended up deciding to rate it, well actually I was a little bit unsure, either 3 or 3.5 stars is what it would probably end up being. As I kind of predicted in my last update, as I approached the end of the book, it definitely did feel like it was too long. Definitely could have been cut down, whether by actual full scenes or, as I think I've talked about before, some of the description was just unnecessary, like things would get described that didn't need to be described. Also, a few things happened, I was just like, why are you including this? And I found it slightly problematic as well. There were a few problematic elements. Teen pregnancy was displayed by multiple characters. It wasn't really like condemned. Like I almost feel like it was showing like a positive view of teen pregnancy. Some of it was not necessary. Like some of it was just like, why is this even being included? And then there was also a scene of or a storyline where a teenager was caught having a relationship with an adult, and it was not really portrayed as like that bad. Like I don't want to discuss spoilers, I guess. I mean, I don't know if people really care about spoilers for this book. Basically, our main character kind of like blackmails a character, saying she's gonna, you know, reveal that she's sleeping with the coach, and it's like a fellow student. And apparently the girl was 18, so they're like, oh, it's fine, but it still is like a little bit uncomfortable. So definitely not the perfect book by any means, but I mean, it's from Wattpad. So props to Tay Marley for even getting a book from Wattpad published. You know, I feel like that's pretty cool. I did read a little bit about the author at the end of the book. She, you know, was a very popular Wattpad author, and then yeah, now is getting some things published. So I feel like that kind of story is cool, but you can definitely find a lot of flaws in a book like this. But also, I think she was really good at writing the romance between the two main characters. Another thing that made me uncomfortable, actually, the fact that it was young adult, but it was so sexual. There was no on page like smut scenes, but the characters were constantly like having sex, constantly making comments about it, sexual comments. I really think they should have been in college. I feel like when she changed the book from a Wattpad story to a book, it could have been really good if she changed it to be college age. It just really would have fit more for how these characters were behaving. But you know, it is what it is. So either 3 or 3.5 stars. Sorry, there's a loud car passing. So yeah, probably the book I enjoyed the most out of this vlog, which I wasn't expecting. I mean, I was not really expecting much from the books in this vlog. Picking books based on my name, kind of a random way to choose books. But you know what? Now I have more to talk about in my worst books of the year video, at least where ache is concerned. You know what? It's still kind of interesting to read some books that I never would have chosen for myself. So hopefully you enjoyed this vlog somewhat. Let me know what you thought of this theme. Let me know if you know any books that like have the name Marley in them. Just out of curiosity, like what could I have chosen instead? Whether it's like the author name or like a character name or something like that. Definitely Ache was my least favorite. Then probably Miss Marley, even though there was nothing bad about it. It just like wasn't that like much of a standout. And QB Bad Boy and Me, definitely cringe, definitely, you know, not exploring anything new by any means, but a lot of the tropes were kind of just silly and fun. So yeah, that's gonna be the end of this vlog. Thank you for watching. Please subscribe if you've not already. I hope you have a great rest of your day whenever you are watching this. See you next time. Bye.